Greetings, everybody. My name is Naledi Matlala, and I'm the Project Manager at SAICA. With me today, I have Mari Baragwanath, who's the Quality Management Leader at SNG. This is our second episode of the ISQM Post implementation series, where we explore practical aspects of the challenges and best practices around the implementation of the standard. Welcome, Mari. It's a pleasure to have you here and to hear what you have to share for us.
Thank you, Naledi. Thank you for having me and being part of this big day.
Thank you, Mari. Just to start off the conversation, what were the challenges that you have experienced as the firm in implementing the new quality management standards, and how were these addressed by your firm?
So, as you know, SNG Grant Thornton forms part of the Grant Thornton network. So we did have a lot of assistance from Grant Thornton International by receiving risk matrices, responses, default things that they wanted in our system of quality management. So the challenge there for me was to actually scale that down for our firm, for our South African environment, and then also bringing in our Eswatini colleagues, because we have an office in Eswatini as well. So there are different regulations and things in place there that we also have to take into account in our firm. Then a further challenge was bringing in our advisory services. You have to take into account what your business risk services are doing, your internal auditors, what your tax are, because that all brings together what a firm's quality is about.
Okay. That's interesting to know. I mean, to think about it, quality management is about thinking about your daily operations of the environment.
Yes.
Okay. My next question is, what were the key lessons that you have learned on the implementation of the QM standards?
So the key lesson for me was to integrate ISQM in your daily base or your daily routine. What are you doing every day? To focus too much on a policy or procedure, then you have something that doesn't speak to what you're doing on the ground. You must speak to your team, speak to your component owners, and see what they are doing on the ground and see how you can integrate that to comply with ISQM.
Okay. Then my next question is, how is the firm incorporating the lessons learned from the first implementation of the standards into its monitoring processes now that it's post 2 years, almost 2 years, or rather after 2 years of implementing the standards?
I think an important part of incorporating the lessons is the root cause analysis process. Seeing what you've done wrong, getting to that root cause, and then drawing up an action plan to see what are you going to do to prevent these findings in the future. Because that's important to see what you've done wrong and not to get that finding or that deficiency again in your system of quality management.
Thank you. What was the impact of the first annual monitoring process and the key learnings from this process?
Well, the first monitoring process, we learned so much. And at the end of the day, we didn't think the monitoring process itself will be so much work. The scope was just, we had to draw up a monitoring plan. How are you going to approach the responses, monitoring these responses, see which ones are linked to which risks, and how are you going to go about to break it down into different levels to see what are you going to review this year, what are you going to review the next year. So that was the biggest part of monitoring for us.
You mentioned that it was a lot of work. Do you think that the firm was sufficiently prepared for ISQM implementation?
So we started very early with our ISQM implementation, and that was actually why I was appointed at the firm. In 2021, I was appointed as the quality management leader. There was no quality management leader before I started there. And from there, we've implemented ISQM, and then we realized we have to have a monitoring team that's not only going to monitor the engagement files, which we had in the past, now we have to monitor our system of quality management and all 8 those components as well. So that was something that the firm ramped up and leveled up the resources as well.
Interesting to know that you were the first quality leader at SNG. That is a great I think an achievement to your name. I mean, you're the first one in the firm. So maybe if you can share some of the best practices that can be adopted or could be adopted in implementation of the quality management standards.
Yes, in implementation, it was, for me, it was to start off with the risk assessment process. There was no process in place. The standard was new. No one knew what to do. Okay. But at the end of the day, with the guidance that we got from Grant Thornton International, we had these risks, but what do you do with them? Okay. You have to get the right people with the right questions in the room. If you have, let's for example, your resources section, you get your HR leader or your, we call them our people and culture director, but then you also get her team to see what is happening on the ground, what do they see as quality risks, and then also to explain to the guys what's the difference between a business risk and audit quality risk. So those are things that we took into account.
Now that you have fully implemented the standards, what do you think or what can we say are the key elements of an effective monitoring process under the ISQM standards?
I think from the effective monitoring process, we learned what our deficiencies are.
Yeah.
So we've been monitored now by our regulator. We've been monitored by Grant Thornton International at the beginning of the year. And then we also have our own internal monitoring team then monitoring us. And from those deficiencies, you see, but nothing is perfect. And for other firms out there, you must just start. It was daunting to start at first. And you're afraid, what am I, if I have a deficiency? You will have deficiencies and you will have to work at them. You have to see what's the root cause. Why am I getting this deficiency and how am I going to fix this problem?
Thank you. Do you see a change in the leadership style, in the leadership responsibilities and accountability taken as a result of the implementation of the QM standards?
Definitely. I feel that we have a very good example of quality leadership. If you looked at Mr. Victor Sekezi, when he starts a CE opening or our new building, he starts off with quality. Quality is our license to trade. Mm-hmm. And that cascaded down to the rest of the firm. You can see where the leadership is taking responsibility and they are driving quality throughout audits, throughout everything that they do. Even a subject like IT, we see the importance of IT and all those type of things that drives into your system of quality management, and the leaders are taking the forefront in that.
That's true. They lead by example here.
That the tone from the top, that's important.
That's true. The objective of the quality management standard is to enhance the robustness of a firm's quality management system. Please share some of the practical experiences where you have noticed a change in the firm's system of quality management.
So the system of quality management was quite new, as you know. But at the end of the day, I always, when I give training, I say to the guys, it's a circle. It's a circle that closes. So in the past, you had ISQC1 and you had this checklist. Yes. And you can check. But now it's different. So the change is from compliance-based to having a system that closes. You do identify your objectives, you formulate your responses, and that leads to our quality management manual where we document our policies and procedures. But then again, when you get monitored and you have deficiencies, you have to start again and see how this relates back to your objectives and back to your responses. So that's the big difference for me.
Okay. Then my last question. Has the ISQM created a culture shift within the firm, and has it enhanced quality? Yes, you did mention the leader is leading by example. It's that up there, but just additional thoughts around that question.
Yeah, I think there's a stronger awareness of quality. Even like things in our CE quarterly bulletin, you think it's a standard thing, there's standard things in there. But if you open it, you see quality. When Victor starts speaking, he says quality. Quality is your license to trade, and that filters through to everything that we do. And people take, we are the risk department that has a system of quality management. And at the end of the day, people take our risk department seriously. They know there's going to be consequent management if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And that's where we can see people are serious about quality.
Thank you so much, Mari, for sharing your insights around the post-implementation of quality management standards. From our conversation, I can take out that quality management is not just a once-off process. It's actually an ongoing process, and we need to be proactive about what we do in the system of quality management. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Naledi.